Hi everybody, welcome back. My name is Wiley Larson. I've been your teacher and lecturer for Venture Development School. Today we're going to talk about key activities and cost structures. This is the Lean Launchpad Unit 6, the final class for your Test Your Business Model class here from ASU Entrepreneurship and Innovation. So we'll get right into it. What we've talked about for the past 5 units is how to use the business model canvas as a roadmap to test your business idea hypothesis. So everything that we do when we sit in our basement or in our classroom or in our co-working space and we think about ideas of how to start businesses, everything we do from behind our computer is a hypothesis. And just like the scientific method, if we have an idea for a business and a way that we think we can make money, we have to go out and we have to do customer discovery to determine if it's really a good idea, should we start this business. And so what we've been talking about up to this point are the customer segments, people who need us, the value propositions, which is why they need us, our channels are how they find us, how we deliver our message. Our customer relationship is how we keep and grow our existing customer base. Our revenue streams are how we make money. Our key partners are people that we need to be able to exist as a business. And our key resources are the physical, financial, human, and intellectual resources that we need, that we keep within our company, what makes us us. So today we're going to wrap up the business model canvas discovery process, which are our key activities and our cost structures, and how we use those to round out our business model canvas. So again, we left off last time with a NASCAR example and how the Stewart-Haas racing team may be able to use key partners and key resources to develop the entertainment value proposition to their customer segments, which are NASCAR fans. And so as we wrap up the final leg of this journey, we have to go back to the iconic Darrell Waltrip, boogity, 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 let's go racing, boys. If you watch any NASCAR, you'll know where that comes from. So here's the quick replay from last time, our key resources, things that we need, things that make us us, our physical resources, like tires, cars, engines, tools, and haulers. Our intellectual resources, which are patents, which can be know-how and trade secrets. Our human resources, which are our engineers and our pit crew and our driver. And our financial resources, which are our sponsors and our owners. These key resources, when we have a startup, no matter what the industry sector is, we're going to have physical, intellectual, human, and financial resources that will make our company who we are. We also talk about key partners. When we talked about our race team, we talked about strategic alliances with non-competitors, like the person who provides our cars, Chevy. We talked about co-opetition. This may be a competitor that provides us some of the things that we need in order to be able to deliver our product, but may also be a company that we can work together with, like Hendrick Motorsports, who we can buy our engines from, even though we race against them on every Sunday afternoon. We may have joint ventures, which are similar companies with the same owner, like Haas Automation, that helps us develop the procedures and the electronics that we need for our car. And we may have buyer-supplier relationships, like getting our tires from Goodyear Tires. So in our startups, in our businesses, there are definitely key partners that we say, you know, without these people, we've got no business. We've got no product, we've got no suppliers, and we just can't exist without these key partners. So that's your difference between your key partners and your key resources. Key partners are outside our organization, key resources are inside our organization. So then the next question that we always get are, what are our key activities? It's difficult for startups to sit here and think about, you know, what is a key activity? How detailed do I need to be in order to put things down in my key activities? I could have dozens of things in this little tiny box. What's the most important? What do we have to do in our key activities box? And we're going to talk about that over the next few minutes. So my question to you and your startup is, what do you do on Monday? What do you do on Tuesday? When you're trying to put your business together, or a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, when your business is up and running, what's a Monday look like? What does a Tuesday look like? And hopefully you can rattle off a few things that you do on a typical day in your business, or what you hypothesize your business will look like a year or two from now. But the question that we really want to drill down to in order to decide what goes in this box is, what do we have to do in any given week in order to deliver our product, our value proposition to our customers? Those are the questions we're going to answer for you today. So, back to our NASCAR example. I love NASCAR because it gives a great description of what the key activities for your regular race team is going to look like. So on Sundays, what do race car teams do? They race. It's just about every Sunday afternoon between February and November, you'll find a channel on your remote somewhere that's got a NASCAR race. So on Sundays, we race, but there's a lot that goes on between those Sundays in order for teams to get ready to compete the next week. Typically on Monday, a race team will take apart the cars and the engines and repair and look for problems where over that 500-mile race, maybe there was wear and tear on certain parts of the car. Maybe the brakes really wore out. Maybe parts of the engine were starting to deteriorate and could have malfunctioned during the latter parts of the race. On Mondays, our teams break down those cars and try to figure out every little problem that potentially could have put them out of the race, so that they can learn from that and apply those fixes to the next race or in the next coming weeks. A lot of times on Tuesday, the driver will jump in a private jet along with some of the pit crew and some of his engineers, and they'll go to another racetrack somewhere around the country where a team is waiting for them, part of their team, with a car, and they can test at another track. So even when you go to one of these racetracks during the week, a lot of times you'll hear those race cars going around in circles because they're taking time and money and testing at a track that they may have a race coming up in the next month or two. Tuesdays are great days to test at other tracks. On Wednesday, they're making final assembly and adjustments to the weekend's car. They're getting ready to put that car in a truck, in a hauler, and travel on Thursdays, typically, to that next upcoming racetrack. Lots of travel involved in going cross-country for these different races. On Friday, the driver and the team are typically at the racetrack, or they're arriving at the racetrack where they're going to perform that weekend. They're practicing, they're adjusting the car, they're practicing again, they're adjusting some more, and they're trying to get that car adjusted and dialed in to the weather conditions, to the track itself and the track conditions, and everything that they want to do to make that car go as fast as it possibly can on Sunday afternoon. Saturday is typically qualifying. Qualifying or some practice races where they drive as fast as they can, all by themselves on that track, to see where they're going to start when the race starts on Sunday. They may have media interviews and sponsor commitments. The fans have gathered at the track by this time. There's meet and greets, and they're also trying to huddle with their teams, finalizing the game plan. Do we want to run hard at the beginning and try to stay out front? Do we want to sit in the back and let everybody wreck out in front of us? There's team meetings that go on to help develop the strategy. And then on Sunday, after a good night's sleep, get in the car and we drive 200 miles an hour. Sounds like kind of a fun job, doesn't it? Well, all of these activities can be summarized as the key activities for that particular business. There's lots of things that aren't mentioned on this slide, but when you break down in any given week, what does a race team do? This is pretty much what it looks like. These are the important things that go into getting that product ready for delivery on Sunday afternoon. We take the days of the week off of the slide, and what are you left with? We start to summarize and tighten up some of these descriptions. Our key activities are racing, disassembling cars and engines, repairing them and looking for problems. We tested other tracks. We assemble and make adjustments to cars. We travel. We practice. We adjust the car. We practice. We adjust some more. We do qualifying. We do media interviews. We do sponsor commitments, meet and greets, game planning, team meetings, and then we race again. So as we continue to kind of break these things down and summarize these things, even though we've taken the days of the week away, this gives us a really nice summary of the key activities of our race team. These are all the major things. We didn't replicate race, we just left it at the bottom, but here's about 9 or 10 things that each race team is responsible for. And that gives us a really nice summary of our key activities. And a lot of those things, when we talk about the key activities, many of them have a cost associated with those. Our post-race analysis, that takes time and human resources to break down those cars. Testing costs money, especially if we're traveling to another track. We assemble the cars to specific types of racetrack. That takes time and resources. We travel, that costs money. We practice, that costs fuel and time. We do pre-race adjustments for weather and for the track and the car. We qualify. We do media and fan sponsor commitments. We do game planning. We race. All of those things, when added together with the things that we have to get from our key partners, which we're paying them for, and the resources, the physical, intellectual, human, and financial things that are within our company, you add that up, especially over a 36-week racing season, and you're going to have a really big number for my math geeks out there in our cost structures box. Oh my God, how are we going to make all of this work? And so hopefully part of the business model canvas process is to think about the key partnerships, the key resources, the key activities, all of which cost money, and we've got to make sure that our revenue streams exceed what our costs are, or there's no point in doing this. Now, we can actually break down our cost structures into some different categories. We can talk about fixed costs, which are often salaries, they're facilities, maybe owned or rented, which could also fall under a key resource. There's a lot of heavy equipment that we have to have. These things are fixed costs, costs that stay the same no matter how many races that we race. We also oops, there's my hauler, there's my tools, there's my team, my pit crew, my driver. Whether I race one race or whether I race 36, these buildings are typically leased on a year-long basis, or we own them potentially. These are salaried employees that are going to work 52 weeks a year, every day of the week, 40 hours a week, if not more. Our driver is on salary. We lease our trucks by the year. We own our tools. These are all fixed costs, no matter how many races that we run. Now, when we talk about variable costs, we've got cars, we've got engines, we've got tires, we've got fuel, we've got parts, we've got travel expenses. Maybe that's our private jet or we stayed at a Holiday Inn last night. The variable costs can go up and down. There's consumables usually here, but these costs increase based on the number of races that we race. So we really want to take those cost structures and break down what are the fixed costs that we have no matter what, and what are the variable costs, which are often supplies and consumables that go up and down based on how many customers we have. So there's two ways when you're trying to explore what are our cost structures. We've got fixed costs, we've got variable costs, and trying to figure out the difference between those is really, really important. Now, when we think about cost structures, we also want to try to figure out economies of scale and economies of scope. So in a lot of cases, we know the bigger the business, the bigger the scale, the lower prices that we can get. So some examples of this are getting our engines from Hendrick Motorsports, getting our parts from Moog and Edelbrock and some of the other companies that you see their logos on the front fender of those cars. Economies of scale talk about how can we lower our costs by buying a product from another original equipment manufacturer. So cost structures include economies of scale and how we can factor that in, part of your fixed costs. Economies of scope, how can we lower our costs by diversifying into other products that multiply our return on investment? So that's kind of a big wordy description that says, how can we build a company that does a lot of really cool things really, really well? And depending on the economy and what happens to be popular, some activities can support the other parts of the business when there's a downtrend or when the costs go up, whether it's fuel costs or other things. Even though this isn't the race team we're actually talking about, I love talking about Team Penske because of their economies of scope. Not only do they have 2 cars on the NASCAR circuit, which you see up there in the top right, but they also have an IndyCar team where they have 3 cars on the top left. So that's part of Team Penske. And if you're familiar with the Penske name, you've probably seen semi-trucks and moving vans on the highways, truck leasing, where they rent Penske trucks, Hertz trucks out to you and me. They've also got a pickup truck, racing truck team that you see there on the right side. They make racing shocks, which I didn't know about until I was doing research for this particular lesson. And they have an automotive group where they're actually selling cars. We can go to a car dealership owned by Penske and buy a Buick, a GMC, or a Ford. So the economies of scope help us diversify things beyond just our narrow value proposition that can help us sustain the company even when there are downturns. So for most of us in the startup stage, we're probably not thinking about economies of scope right now, but as we do customer discovery, hopefully you're finding other problems where you can say, hey, you know what? Once we get really good at what we're doing here, there's other problems that we might be able to solve as well with similar products or similar customer segments that can help us expand our scope. So finding other problems to solve that are in businesses related to our core customer segment can really help describe and explain our cost structures to try to get those costs down a little bit. Okay, so how do we do this? You think about 2 years from now, who are we writing checks to? And this is actually going back, getting outside the NASCAR example a little bit. What are our key activities and what are our costs? This is why I love teaching these 2 boxes at the same time because they're so closely connected. Our key activities typically cost us money. These are people that we're writing checks to. So we have suppliers, oftentimes key partners, for supplying our components. We have manufacturers for manufacturing our product. We have engineers who are improving our solution. We have developers who are probably upgrading our code or our features. Our managers for making sure the product is right? You've got to have some authority there. You've got a sales team helping grow the customer base. You've got trainers. This is one that we always forget about. When we create a product, a lot of times we have to be able to train the customer how to use that product. Who's going to do that? And what's that going to cost us? We have to think about trainers as one of our key activities. Marketing professionals for helping us deliver our message. As we grow our company and we add team members, the CEOs, our co-founders, we become more focused on the big picture and we have to employ people who can do specific tasks like marketing and sales and training to be able to do those things. We may have a customer service staff for keeping and growing our current customers. That goes back to customer relationships. Who is going to answer the phone when something goes wrong? And something will go wrong with our product. So you have to have customer service or you're going to lose your customer, which you have to then go out and replace. So a key activity for almost all of our startups at some point a year or 2 down the road, who is our customer service department and how are they going to keep and grow our current customer base? Okay? And then there's us, the co-founders, right? The company executives for making sure that we're correctly and appropriately delivering our value proposition to our customers and then thinking about the big strategic picture of once we solve this problem for this customer, how can we solve a similar problem for a similar customer? All of these activities, you can probably cut and paste a lot of this data right here on this step and put that into your key activities and then drill it down so it's a little more specific. But almost all of us need suppliers, we need manufacturers, we need engineers, we need developers, we need managers, we need sales professionals, trainers, marketing professionals, customer service, and then our overall big strategic vision for our company executives. So that's step one. We put and we plot all of those things in our key activities box: sourcing supplies, manufacturing, engineering new features, quality control, sales and marketing, training and customer service, and expanding our scope. A great way of summarizing the items on the right-hand side into some key activities in the key activities box. And then as we think about all of those things, what costs are there? The fixed costs, we may have buildings, which we rent or purchase. We have employees, which are manufacturing, they're engineering, they're doing sales, and they're servicing our product. We have equipment, maybe vehicles, machinery, IT people. These are all fixed costs. No matter how many products we deliver, we've got some things that we have to be able to provide on a day-to-day and year-to-year basis. Our variable costs, a lot of these go back to our key partners. So we've got OEM supplies, components, maybe server space, Amazon Web Services could be key partners. We've got business development, so our sales staff may grow or expand or contract based on how many products we can deliver at any particular time. Travel is a variable cost, depending on how much travel we need to do to make sure that we're executing our value proposition. And research and development is, in many cases for small businesses and startups, is also a variable cost. We do as much of that as we can, but we can't let our core business suffer because we're putting too much emphasis chasing opportunities that aren't right in front of us. That's one way that startups often fail when they're in that year 3, year 4, year 5, and they've become a small business. Sometimes we can listen to our customers too much, and we have to make sure that we have a broad enough sample that if we have 20 or 30 customers in a particular segment, that we are choosing the core solution that hits all or the majority of those customer interviews. If we try to be too specific and build a specific solution for every single customer, we're going to R&D ourselves right out of business. And so let's get the common problem that everybody has solved, and then we can look on that upsell to say, well, yeah, we can solve that, but there's going to be some other engineering fees and some other things that are involved in that. Is that important to you right now, or is that something that we can talk about in the future? So filling out the key activities and the cost structures, when you think about these different strategies, can actually be pretty easy. Thinking about fixed and variable costs, thinking about the key resources and how they relate to my costs, and thinking about the key partners and the key activities and how they relate to our costs as well. Anybody that we're writing a check to can be a key partner, it can be a key activity, and it probably is going to end up in our cost structures box. So I hope that helps. What that tells us now is we've completed all of the training on the business model canvas. What we've learned today is our key activities. These are the things that we do Monday through Friday. It's an overall summary of basic tasks that have to be executed if we're going to be able to be in business. And our cost structures, how we spend money. We're hopefully going to make money on the right-hand side, but we're going to have to spend money on the left-hand side, and that number is always bigger than we think. So bringing that all together, the right side of the canvas, box 1 and 2, people who need us, why they need us, our channels, how we deliver our message, how they find us or how we find them, our customer relationships, how we keep them, our revenue streams, how we make money, and then the right side of the canvas, how we spend money. These are people and suppliers that we need, the activities that we do Monday through Friday, and the resources that we have inside our company, all adding up to hopefully cost structures that are hopefully significantly less than our revenue streams. So I hope you can kind of see how all of this works together and how they all relate. It's not easy. I hope I've made it easier for you to go through this type of process. And certainly you're always welcome to email us and ask us questions. Nothing I enjoy more than sitting down one-on-one with a team and with founders and saying, let me see your canvas. Let's see if all of this stuff makes sense. And so I hope that's been helpful, and I hope we've enjoyed the examples and the different ideas that we've presented you. And hopefully what that means at the end of the day is that we win the prize. We can put together a company that's successful, that makes money, where we can create jobs, we can create businesses, hopefully right here in the state of Arizona, and throw a big celebration when all of this comes together. Unfortunately, the odds are against us. In a NASCAR race, there's only one winner in a field of 40. And with startups, 90, depending on who you talk to, 95% of startups don't make it to year 3 or year 5. And what that turns into is an epic car wreck, right? So we wish you the best of luck. We're always here to help out and answer your questions and hopefully help you get to victory lane. Again, my name is Wiley Larson. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.